like trust your gut. I make zero moves unless I've kind of did a self-check and it feels right. Everything we need to succeed like has already been like put in us. So just like trust the process and trust what you're feeling, trust that vision, and like just go for it. I don't believe we are allowed to dream or be given visions or for things unless we already have the capacity to fulfill them.
Welcome everybody to episode 19 of the Paul and Pals podcast. I'm your host, Ponyboy Paul, and Paul and Pals is a podcast where I interview my creative pals to learn how they became who they are today to inspire you for tomorrow. On this episode, I have a creative conversation with my pal, Morrisa Jenkins. She is the owner and co-founder of Freedom Apothecary, a holistic wellness and just overall skincare company that's also focused on, one, empowering Black and brown women, and also making sure they're building the community wherever they're located. Now, in this episode, we kind of talk about how Morrisa's always wanted to be an entrepreneur since she was young. We also talk about how her ex-husband actually is the reason, or kind of strongly persuaded her to start her first company. And then lastly, we talk about how the idea of Freedom Apothecary actually came to her via a download. But without any further ado, let's get creative. You hear me?
Yeah.
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I was telling you before, but I'll probably break it down sometime later for the rest of the gang. But anyway, welcome to the Paul and Pals podcast. Thank you for reaching out. And one thing I always like to do is kind of give everybody an idea of how we met, which is interestingly enough, we actually met almost 2 years to this day. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that New Orleans party. I think it was like a Mardi Gras with my friends Josh and David. Actually, the first time I actually met David. So it's all coming together. But I think I met you there. We just started all chatting. You had your kids. It was just like a very random, party.
We had some funny conversations at that party.
Yeah. But I just really appreciate you. When I reached out a couple months ago, you were just like, yeah, I'm about this. And I was just very taken aback at that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to really, tell your story. So I think let's kind of start there. We can do like a general overview. So how would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Morrisa Jenkins, owner, I'll say entrepreneur. I own a Freedom Apothecary, which is a clean beauty, retail, wellness, and lifestyle space in Philadelphia. The brick and mortar, I should say. Can you hear that?
I think I heard that beep. Yeah, is that your phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna just turn it off. Sorry.
So you're a real entrepreneur. Your line jumping, yo. Good.
Yeah, let's see if I can get rid of that.
But yeah.
So yeah, I'm a mom. I have two girls that are 7 and 3. Mm-hmm. Originally from Mississippi.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start there. Oh, your phone's still ringing.
But I don't know how to make it stop. It's on my computer now.
Oh, okay.
Oh gosh. Okay.
No, you good. We'll make it work.
Okay.
I'll edit it in post. But so let's kind of start at the beginning. I think obviously we know you now as this entrepreneur. You got this whole business, but I'm always curious as to like how people grow up, because I feel like that tells you a lot about what you're doing. Because I feel like what you're doing is kind of unique, right? So like if you want to start at your childhood, where are you from again? Kind of how were you raised, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm from Laurel, Mississippi. Probably, I'm sure nobody's heard of it. Maybe some of my friends that are on here. But Laurel, Mississippi, small town, maybe like 20,000 people. I guess I grew up with a single mom. My parents separated when I was like 5 years old, but my dad was always around. I'm the youngest of 3 and the only girl. So I'm the baby girl. I was probably pretty damn spoiled growing up, because my brothers were like 7 years older and like 13 years older than me. So I was kind of like the only one at home. But I guess I could say like growing up, I kind of always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like I didn't necessarily want to go work a 9 to 5 or whatever.
At what age did you feel like you felt that though? Like, since you were that young, or when?
So my mom tells me all the time, like she says when I was like 6 that I told her like like I'm gonna make a lot of money one day. My name is gonna be in lights, whatever the hell that meant.
Okay.
And I told her, she always cracks jokes. She was like, and you told me you were gonna make enough money that when I got old, you were gonna put me in a really nice nursing home. I mean, which is mean, like that's mean as hell, right?
Yeah, that's mad morbid.
But
Yeah.
like she was like, you always would say that you were just gonna do your own thing and like, make your own money or whatever. So yeah, that's
Okay.
just kind of
That's very interesting because I feel like a lot of people. I mean, even when I was young, I feel like my parents always pushed me to be like, "Yo, make sure you get this job and you work for this long." So I think it's interesting that you
right.
have this perspective of like you knew you wanted to kind of do your own thing, but at
Yeah.
that
And
age, that yeah, go continue.
no, I mean at that age, like I didn't really know what that looked like. Like my mom was a school teacher, my dad worked in a factory. Like I didn't have any like examples of like entrepreneurs or like people doing their own thing. But I knew that like whatever that was just didn't fit me. It didn't feel right. And
Mm,
that's not to say like I've had a job since I was 11 years old. Like my first job was at a snowball stand. So like I always had like, I guess the drive and the hustle to like work. And but I also knew that like working for somebody else is not what I wanted to do.
got you.
So
Okay, and I guess how did that kind of influence you when you was actually starting to get into your educational bag? Was it kind of like, oh, I want to
mhm.
do this. I know for sure I want to study this so I can do that, or were you kind of still trying to figure out at that young age?
I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I will say, like I honestly did not know what I wanted to do until I was like in my 30s. Like I was just
Okay.
kind of going down these different like career paths. I won't say lost, but I was like, oh, this looks cool. Let me do this. And even
Yeah.
within those things, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna open my own practice, or I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna like, do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took some time for the journey. Like, everyone says it took some time for me to like really put all of those things together and to
Yeah.
arrive where I am now. So,
Got you. Okay. So let's see. I don't know if that's a trick because I was gonna be like, oh, so how old are you now, so we can break it down. But I don't know if I can say that. So I'm gonna need you to somehow say that without me asking, and
yeah.
then we'll. uh, so yeah. So
So,
going. I love how you still not saying it too, but nah. So I kind of want to break down these little journeys you had, right?
yep.
Because you said you kind of got into this, entrepreneur bag kind of now. Like,
Yeah.
where was this like first attempt at? Like, what was it like? Oh, let me try this, and maybe I can make something out of it. Like, what was your first recognition of that?
Um, so, hmm. Let's see. I don't know. Like, should I start, like, I guess, with my education, or you want to start,
Yeah,
like, at the
let's
entrepreneur
let's do education
journey?
first. I'm
Okay.
interested in that.
Okay. So, I first, let me see. I started out at Tougaloo College, fresh out of high school, biology, majored in biology. I pledged, and that went like downhill. My
Okay,
grades were trash after that,
what's
so I
what
had to change my
sorority?
major. I pledged Delta.
Okay, all
Yeah, I'm a Delta.
right.
And so
Uh,
that kind of shook some stuff up. I had to kind of take a different path.
you was
And
having too much
I
fun.
having too much fun. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'll go into athletic training. So I switched over to that. And then where it kind of gets weird at, I decided to go into prosthetics. And so I went to Northwestern
Hmm.
in Chicago to study and become certified to make prosthetic limbs because I had hopes and dreams of opening my own prosthetic clinic and helping veterans and children with, congenital deficiencies that, don't have limbs or whatever. Like that was my um, dream at one point.
Okay.
And I still have a passion for it. And that didn't really work out. Like life kind of happened, got
Yeah.
married, had kids.
Yeah.
And from there, I was like, okay, let me get into franchising. Looked at a couple of franchises um, and decided that, I just kind of wanted to do my own thing.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where I guess you can say the journey to Freedom
Yeah. Yeah.
Apothecary started.
Okay.
I what kind of turned into I had my first daughter. researching what type of products and to use on babies, the typical
Yeah.
Johnson and Johnson and all those kind of things, and
Yeah.
learning about all the like harmful ingredients and preservatives and fragrances that are in those products. I started making my own product. And that just kind
Really?
of spawned, yeah, that
So
kind of spawned
when you say
into
making, you like was in the lab like actually cooking up, or
was
like how?
yeah, making like in the kitchen, which I still make the products now in my kitchen that we sell in the store. But yeah, in
Wow.
my kitchen, just researching different like essential oils and plant oils and butters and all of that. And so yeah, like my now ex-husband was like, "Yo, you got to start selling this," and I'm like, "No way,
Yeah.
nobody wants to buy this."
Uh huh.
Um, and he built a website for me and was like, "Yo, be ready. I'm launching it on this date. Like, get your
What?
life together."
He
And
just
so
pushed you
I
like
did
that.
it. Yeah, yeah, I did it.
Okay.
And so that was Mo Moisture. That was like my first business, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
And I'm kind of curious about that too. So, like, when you were, obviously having a child kind of changes your mentality about
Mhm.
everything because you got to take
Yeah.
care of somebody, right? So, like, when you were kind of doing all this research, were you kind of also influenced from a diet perspective? Were you kind of like, oh, let me change my whole diet up? Because I think when I think about holistic living, like, it's almost kind of you want to make everything as natural as possible. So, how did that affect you?
Right.
Obviously, you're taking care of your job, but how did that affect you personally?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a process. Like it's an ongoing process. I mean, at that moment, it was just like, okay, like body products. What can I put on myself? What can I put on the baby? And then that kind of transformed into, exercise, and that spawned into eating habits and like, going vegan and vegetarian and pescatarian and like
Got you.
deodorant and house products. Like it's just like it keeps like
Yeah.
going, how to eliminate, the harmful things that we tend to like consume and put on our bodies on a daily basis. So
Got you. Okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to. It's a hard change, yo. I'm like diet. I'm like, man, I love that chicken. Like, it's hard.
listen, I mean, I'm from Mississippi, so I mean, I grew up
Yeah,
eating all like the chitlins and the ham hocks and all
yeah,
of the things. So
yeah.
it's
You had
definitely,
something wild on your story recently. I can't remember what it was. You
it
was
was a
cooking.
coon, a
Yeah, I'm like,
raccoon.
you gotta explain that real quick, cause holistic raccoon, it don't match up. So how did
I
that
mean,
come to
so
be?
yeah, I mean, I grew up eating like that. Like my uncle, I would watch my uncle like skin a raccoon, cook it, eat it, like. But
Wow,
so I
that's
was
different.
visiting my mom one weekend a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, and my brother was like, "Yo, mom, I got a raccoon in the freezer. Can you cook it for me?" And she did.
You're like,
It
sure.
was yeah, it was pretty disgusting. I'm like looking at it like I cannot believe I used to eat this mess. Like,
That's
but
wild. Okay. All right, that took a turn. But yeah, going back to so when you first were motivated by your ex to like start this business, at that time was this business was that Freedom Apothecary at this time? Like, can you give us a timeline? When is this?
no, so this was like 2016, I think. And at that time it was Mo Moisture. And again, it was just like, products I was making in the kitchen. It was probably
Yeah.
about, I think I had about 10 SKUs. And I did that for like 2 or 3 years.
Can you clarify SKUs real quick? Oh, that's a little business talk.
So products. Yeah,
Okay,
I had
about it.
like about 10 different products that I was making.
Got
And
you.
I was doing everything. Like I was a one woman show. I was making the product, doing social media, doing the marketing, the shipping, the like
Hey,
pop-up markets. Like I was just doing it all.
I
And
can relate
I
like
got
that.
kind of
I can
like
relate.
I got kind of burnt out.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I got.
and when you were kind of getting into that bag, was it kind of like, I mean, did you already kind of establish, some friends, and then how did you kind of build the people actually buying your product?
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It just kind of took off. Like I mean, my family, the people that I knew in Mississippi, New Orleans, because at
Yeah,
that time I was living in Philadelphia. I had made the move to from New Orleans to Philadelphia.
yeah.
And it was just word of mouth. Like I said, my friends would buy it. I kind of gained a pretty decent presence on Instagram.
Got you.
Um, and so it just It just
Okay.
happened that way. I didn't have any like secret like tricks or recipes or
She just
whatever
said,
that I
I'm
was
that
trying.
dope.
No, not really. Like again, this is not something I even wanted to like that I wasn't confident, that people would actually
Yeah,
buy it. So
got you. And then kind of talk to us about when you started to feel this burnout. Was that burnout more of like you were kind of overwhelmed with how many orders you were doing and the fact you were the only one doing it? Like, how did that come to be?
yeah, so that was a lot of it. Again, I was a mom at the time. Once I decided to kind of shut down shop and rebrand. I was expecting again. I was overwhelmed with doing all of the things by myself. And I
Hmm.
was like, I need to take a break. And I
Got
just
you.
kind of probably about 2 or 3 months before I was ready to give birth to my second daughter, I just like shut down. I was like, yo, I'm
Okay.
rebranding. Like I didn't know what that was gonna look like or what the
Yeah,
plan was, but I was like, okay, something like it needs to like shake.
got you.
Something's got to
Okay.
change. So
So you kind of and when you were taking that break, was it more like a break of, oh, I actually like doing this entrepreneurial gig, but
hmm
I gotta figure it out. So like,
yeah.
what was your kind of like rebranding process?
So I'll be honest with you. When I like I said, when I first shut down, I had no idea when I was gonna pick it back up, what the rebranding process looked like. But for whatever reason, my gut was telling me like, yo, like I said, something needs to happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the way I arrived at freedom, it was a dream. I literally was sleeping one night and kind of like coming out of sleep, and what I like to say, like I received a download essentially.
Okay.
And it was like clear as day, like, yo, this is the business, or this is where your business needs to go next. It's like, it needs to be space, it needs to be a storefront.
Hmm.
Um, it needs to be a space. Like I just kept thinking about, women and women of color, holistic living, education on like holistic living and kind of like getting back to like the earth.
Hmm.
Um, and so that that's how it happened. Like I woke up the
Okay.
next morning and it was clear as day, and I was like, "Yo, what the hell did I just dream about?" And
Yeah.
I just started writing stuff down,
Uh huh.
researching, and like literally the things just started like falling in place.
That's
And it was
crazy.
like an aha moment, because I mean, honestly, like for a long time, like from all the different like career paths and education I've gone, had, I was like, none of this adds up. None of this makes sense. Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? And with that vision, all of those things kind of like,
Started coming to be.
yeah, like working together for this
Wow.
one particular thing. So,
You said download. I like that. I'm gonna start using that now. She got the new iOS. She's like, oh, bet it's clear as day. Okay, so yeah, let's keep going with that. So before we kind of get into how you built Freedom, can
hmm
you give your best description or overview of what Freedom Apothecary is?
yeah. So really what I just said. So we are a space for authenticity, for women to just come and be who they are, to take care of themselves. Especially we as Black women, like we're carrying a lot. I feel like we always have, and so I feel like it's super important for us to take care of ourselves first,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can continue to do the work and to, be the pillars in our communities and our households. So that's really what it is. And so we have all of our products that we carry in the store are female founded. So we're all about empowering women and giving them a platform,
Yeah.
and also just really like breaking down barriers in the beauty industry and wellness industry for women of color, and just being, like providing representation in the
Mm-hmm.
wellness and beauty industry. So,
Got you. And when you say, actually, before I continue, you said,
hmm
obviously it's a woman focused business. And I
hmm
want to acknowledge you because you're actually giving away two products as a bundle
yeah.
to one lucky raffle winner. And I noticed that, one of the products promotes hair growth. So I
hmm
wanted to know, am I able to still purchase products from you and use it? Or is that like, strictly woman face? I just wanted to be sure because I
No,
might.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. So you guys are.
we do have products for men, and like we say, it's for people with skin. Like we our products are like,
Yeah.
gender neutral for the most part. And we have lifestyle products and like
Hmm.
candles and internal wellness items, CBD.
Got you.
So yeah.
Right. And then when you say woman founded, when you say
Hmm.
woman founded, is that like, are you kind of contracting other women in the business to
Hmm.
make their, and then you guys sell it for them
Yeah.
or help them sell
Yeah.
it? Okay, that's really dope.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
And so, I mean, we have, I lose count now, but it's like 50 plus different brands and brand partners that we work with. We have our
Wow.
in-house brand. We have a blend bar where you can come in and create your own products it's like an apothecary style blend bar. So just all natural herbs and butters, um, oils, clays to make masks. And then we also do services. We do facial services. So,
Okay, that's really cool. And I'm now curious too because I feel like you woke up, you got that download, and then
hmm
you built this whole thing that now has over 50 relationships. So like, obviously once you got that idea, I'm curious like how did you actually like execute it? Because it's a lot to say, but how did you actually like build it from day one?
um, So again, like, just writing it down. I reached out to a good friend of mine in Philly who was a small business or who is a small business owner. Because I wasn't from Philly. Knew nothing about the landscape and the business landscape of Philly. So I reached out to him just to get some advice, like, yo, I got this idea. What do you think about it? And his wife ended up becoming my partner in the business, and she's phenomenal. So she has years of experience in retail,
Yeah.
and organizational leadership and stuff like that. So um, we co-created it together. Like she believed in the vision I had for the space, and we co-created what
Okay.
you see now. So.
Got you. And I'm also curious about a key point you mentioned about the actual business. You mentioned community building. Like,
Mhm.
obviously you guys have a storefront. Was that affected by COVID, by the way? How has that been?
Yeah, it's effective. I mean, we've had to, like starting out, we were strictly like brick and mortar. We didn't have a web space or web shop, I should say.
Mm.
But due to COVID, we had to pivot like everybody, well,
Oh,
most people, and we put probably 70 to 80% of our inventory on our web shop. So that was a big help. And also, just really expanded our doors, like opened our doors to the rest of the country and world. So
okay.
we
That's
aren't,
interesting.
operating at 100% capacity, but we're staying afloat. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about that because I feel like nowadays when most people kind of like make a store or shop or sell items, they go
hmm
straight to online. So y'all were
yeah.
like, I guess when was Freedom Apothecary officially founded?
So crazy. So we were supposed to open in July of 2018. We did not open our doors until July of 2019. So we
A
were
whole
delayed in
year?
opening a whole freaking year.
Wait,
Dealing with
why?
the city of Philadelphia and permits and all kind of like madness. It took us a whole year
Yeah.
to get our doors open. And then within 6 months of opening, well, it's probably like 8 months of opening, COVID happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we were
Dang.
like still trying to like, like get our bearings and like really figure out this whole, brick and
Yeah,
mortar and having a space and then that happened. So,
got you. And then can you
but
kind of describe how that storefront was? Like, when I think of community, I'm thinking like, so did y'all have like maybe weekly activities and then women can come through and like, learn something, or how is that actually implemented?
yes, I mean we had book clubs. We would have like kind of like think tanks or different workshops where we would host different dialogues and discourse about different things that would be happening or currently happening, current events or whatever.
Hmm.
And with plans to do more of that, but again, like I said, for
Yeah,
6 months into the opening, we had to shut down. So
got you.
hope
And I guess
hopefully, I think we're aiming at opening our doors again. I think it's a 1 year to the date that we shut down last year, so we'll be
so
opening back
July.
up soon. No, we'll be
Okay,
up March. When we shut down for
March.
COVID.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got you, got you, got you. Okay,
yeah.
March, got you. Yeah, it's coming soon. And
Yep.
I kind of wanted to. I had two things that just came to mind, but one thing, still on apothecary, is why did you name it Freedom Apothecary? Like, what does that mean to you?
Uh, um, really, again, the name came to me in a dream, but um, it's kind of it's got a few different meanings, like freedom in like products. So our products are free of parabens, free of preservatives,
Mm,
free of fragrance, free of any, toxic, nasty stuff that could, affect you, your body, your skin, whatever.
yeah.
And then it's space for freedom, space to just be who you are, to be authentically yourself, to come and have the conversations about, different things, to come and to practice self-care, like radical self-care, and to not feel guilty about, taking care of yourself or putting yourself first so you can be whole to take care of your family.
Hmm.
Um, so
I see. I see. I like that. That's kind of deep. The double entendre, and then
yeah.
but one thing that came to me while you were talking is I think it's a kind of very important to know just for everybody, right? You mentioned that you were really motivated by your ex to really get into this, and like
Mhm.
I'm curious. Even though you had the skill, you knew what you wanted to do. I guess what would you say was kind of like that fear that was kind of holding you back from actually like just doing it? Because I feel like when you look back now, you're probably like, oh,
Mhm.
it wasn't that hard. Like, what was that initial thing that you really had to overcome?
Um, let's see. Lord, that is loaded. I
We're
mean,
trying to get.
I'm gonna just be frank and honest. Like, being a Southern girl from Mississippi, like I've always kind of felt this, I don't know, fear. Like I wasn't confident in my speech or in my voice or in what I had to offer to the world. Like who am I? This little country girl from Mississippi. Like what does she know? So it was really self. It was really me. I had to get out of my own way and just like really believe in what I had to offer and that I had purpose and that, I can do what the next person was doing or I could be great. So
Hmm. Yeah,
I needed that extra like
that
push.
push. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think sometimes like I get into this mode of like, and I think I consider myself very self motivated, but I'm also
Hmm.
very self critical. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
even with this, like what I'm doing, I'm thinking about every little thing. I'm like, oh dang, like I see a pixel right there, or like my mic is in here, or like I'm not
Hmm.
saying the right thing. So I think it's a common thing, and I think you make a good point that sometimes you might need that external push, and it might
Right.
not feel comfortable, right? But
Hmm.
when somebody's able to be like, just do it, you're like, ah, okay, let me try it, and then
Let
it
me
happens
try it.
exactly. So I think that's a
Yeah.
very I hope everybody can like resonate with that because I think that's something that you have to be constantly reminded of, right?
Hmm.
And then another key thing you mentioned was purpose, and I think you kind of mentioned it when we were even talking earlier. Like
Hmm.
now that you've done all this and you're living your life right now, where do you feel like? Do you feel like you found a purpose? Do you think it's one thing, or what does that word mean to you now?
Um, oh, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I do think purpose is one thing, but I think purpose can be lived out or fulfilled in multiple like areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I got you. I got you.
Like, some people may say, "Oh, my purpose is to care for kids or do this or do that." And it's like, okay, you can fulfill that purpose in multiple like pathways or journeys or whatever. Like it doesn't have to look one way.
Yeah. No,
So,
I relate with that. I think it's a big word, and I don't know. I think when I was younger, I never wanted to think that there was just one thing I had to do because I just feel like with life so fickle and
mhm.
so random, like I don't know if there's like one thing, right? So for me, I think like whatever comes to mind, I think you got to at least try it, see what
Mhm.
happens, and then kind of learn from it.
Yeah.
For example, like with this podcast, right? I never thought that it would become this thing. I kind of was like, oh, I want to interview people. I want to learn how they became who they are. But
Mhm.
I was never initially framing it as some like inspirational, motivational thing, right?
Right.
But as I kept doing it, like the people that their stories personally inspired me, right? And it
Mhm.
became this. So I think I definitely relate to that. And now that I kind of see you're on this path, you're kind of figuring it out. Do you kind of, as it kind of motivated you or inspired you to like, you want to do some other things, or do you want to have some type of bigger impact that you're already planning about or planning around?
For sure. I definitely have aspirations of, doing like nonprofit work. I really would love to start I don't know if I should call it a foundation or outreach program in my hometown, and just, really inspire and just be a resource for other little girls who are from a small town who look like me, who may need that extra push to, like, to say, hey, like, I can go out in the world, I can do this, I can be an entrepreneur, I can be a lawyer, president, whatever,
Yeah,
and just really, broaden their perspective and their ideas of where they feel like they can go and what they
the
can achieve.
possibilities.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I also want to keep it real too, because I feel like from somebody that's trying to do something and you're kind of doing it a lot on your own, you're obviously the
Hmm.
co-founder owner, where like, I'm curious, like, what are some of the challenges you kind of face and you're always having to overcome? Like, what are the things that annoy you about what you're trying to do? She said, "Oh snap, who's listening?" Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I
oh,
don't know how to
what?
answer that question.
Really? So you're gonna
Um,
be, you said just easy sailing, smooth.
I mean, it's not, but it's not annoying. Like I'm in a place where I enjoy like everything about it. Even the tough days, it's like it's growth. Like it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I've learned how to do that, or oh, that challenged me. It pushed me. Like, like I don't know. It's just all good like
Yeah,
things, even on like the hard days. Like I don't
got
know.
you. Got you. And that's good. I mean, it's good that you making the most of it. Sometimes you gotta see the light in the darkest day. So that's good.
Yes, yeah.
And now that one thing I wanted to kind of go back to your daughters, because I remember one key thing from when I first met you 2 years ago is I think I was just trying to like either pick her up or give her a hug, and she curved the f out of me,
Yeah,
like she
yeah,
curved me. So I'm
yep.
curious, like now that you're raising them, you've seen them growing up. I guess how as you're learning where you've realized that you can do whatever you put your mind to, like, I guess how is that gonna kind of influence you in terms of your motherhood and raising your kids? Like, are you more like, oh, I'm gonna just let them do anything, or like, what do you think that you're gonna change specifically about your raising of them that's
Yeah.
gonna be different?
Um, for sure. Like just really encouraging them to be like who they are. And not, and especially with my oldest, I always have to like check myself and be like, you know what? This is who she is. Like, and really like not try to
Figure it out.
just parent her. Just
Yeah.
parent her and make sure she stays alive and safe, but
Uh
just let
huh.
her do what she wants to do. Um, but I definitely want to encourage them to just to be who they are. And not try to stick them in a box or a lane or a pathway to, oh, hey, go be a doctor. Like, no, you can be an artist. Like, you can do whatever your dreams and your desires may be. Um, and I think, we don't do enough of that, like in the Black community. But that's a whole nother
Black
conversation.
culture. No, we can have that conversation. I'm down to have it because no, it's very true. And I think when we think about black based things or black targeted
Hmm.
things, I feel like the common consensus is trying to tell the black population that like there's more to like our life. There's more things that we can do. There's more things that we can accomplish. So I think that's a very meaningful conversation that needs to be constantly had because
Yeah.
I've realized the best way to do it is you really got to just lead by example. You got to understand that there's certain people that might see you sometimes
Hmm.
and they might not ever say a word to you, right? But they might see you do something and now they're like, oh, word. Let me mimic that. And I've always
Yeah.
kind of had that mindset because when I was growing up, I have a younger brother. Shout out Peter. He's 6 years younger than me. His birthday's
Hmm.
actually in 3 days. Actually, he's 6 years younger than me. And growing up, my mom and dad always used to be like, "Oh, make sure you're doing whatever because your brother's watching you, right?" And I used
Right.
to get annoyed because I'm like, yo, like I'm just trying to chill with the homies, like, and it's a weird age range where you can't take them
Uh-huh.
everywhere, you can't always hang. But I feel like it wasn't until we had a conversation recently that I just seen his growth, and I made me
Hmm.
realize that all of those things that I made sure to be mindful of, it was very important because it's kind of changed his mindset. So,
Right.
you say let's not have that conversation, but I think we always have to have that conversation because it's so important to me. But
It is
I think
very
that
important.
you're living that life. So
Yeah, I mean, and definitely like just like you said, lead by example. Like I take them everywhere. Like if I'm in Philly because I live in New Orleans now. My space is in Philly, but in Philly, like bringing them to the store, just showing them everything. Now that I'm in New Orleans, I'm kind of getting into real estate, so I take them on, the sites to see the houses and to
Yeah.
go pick out material and do like whatever, like just. And then they're watching, like, my oldest would be like, "Oh, mom, you remember when we saw the tile for whatever?" Like she's watching.
Yeah.
Um, so just giving them just different little seeds. Like I don't know if the seed is gonna grow. It might not, but at least
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they are aware of what's happening. So
Now you gotta plan it. No, for real.
yeah.
And I think we're kind of nearing the end, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But one thing that I always kind of, always ask you, I've mentioned this before, is I'm always curious, like, based on how you've been living, based on all your experience so far,
Mhm.
somebody had to ask, what is like a main word of advice that you would give to anybody watching or listening?
Mhm. Um, I would say, I mean, I feel like it may be cliche, but like just like trust your gut. Like I feel like I'm highly like intuitive. Like I make zero moves unless I've kind of did a self check and it feels right. But I feel like everything we need to succeed, like it's already been like put in us. Like it's already in us. So just like trust the process and trust what you're feeling, trust that vision, and like just go for it. I don't believe we are allowed to dream or be given visions or for things unless we already have the capacity to fulfill them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, that's deep. Yeah, I can't wait for my next download. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm waiting for that next update. And then another thing I want you to also kind of explain is, can you kind of describe the two products that you'll be giving away as part of the
Mhm.
raffle prize? Just quick little teaser branding.
Yeah. So the two raffle products is the Freedom Apothecary Glow Body Balm and the green tea butter. Both are two of our like biggest sellers in the store. Again, I hand make these things in my kitchen still currently.
You put your
And
foot
I
in it, a
mean,
little raccoon
right.
in it.
But again, like, high quality sourced ingredients, all natural, no preservatives, no chemicals, no toxins.
Hmm.
And they're great. Great body butters. I use the Glow Bomb sometimes to do twist outs on my fro.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll enjoy
Bet.
them.
I
Whoever
wish
the
I
lucky
could.
winner is.
I wish I could relate. And I'll be giving some details about that once I let you go.
Okay.
And I think also before I let you go, do you have any things you want to promote? How people can support you, support the store? Anything you want to just put some light on?
Yeah, no, so just check us out. Freedom on Instagram, we're freedom.apothecary. Our web shop is freedomapothecary.com. Again, we have a wide range of products, all female founded. A lot of them are founded by Black females, which is, that's also important.
Yeah.
So yeah, check us out, shop with us. We
Yeah.
have an amazing holistic esthetician that does virtual consultation. She also creates at-home facial kits that are customized to your needs. So grab a facial kit, give yourself a little at-home self-care. But yeah, check us out.
Bet. But yeah, once again, Morrisa, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for making it work even throughout all the technical difficulties. I still had
Thanks
a
for
good
having
time.
me.
No problem. But yeah, I'm gonna let you go, and then you can just leave, and then I'll wrap it up with the rest of the audience.
All right.
Thank y'all for tuning in to episode 19 of the Paula Pals podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed that. And if you did, I'll really appreciate you can support by either subscribing to the YouTube, subscribing to the podcast platform, or subscribing to the newsletter. I have all these different mediums because I think everybody learns and just like to take in information differently. So I wanted to make sure that I'm reaching, as wide of an audience as I can. But if you guys want to just see what I'm doing, keep up to date with me, you guys can also follow me at Ponyboy Paul on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And same goes with the podcast itself. You can also follow that at Paul and Pals. Also, if you guys, I actually just released this about a week ago. Now the Paul and Pals merch store is officially open. So you guys can actually get that by going to merch.paulandpals.live. Feel free to buy a t-shirt or a pal crew neck or both. Times are hard out here sometimes. Like, if you want to buy 4, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got friends, y'all got family, like, support a homie. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank y'all for joining and listening the whole time. So till next time, remember to stay creative. Peace.